Have you ever had one of those moments where you realize the question you're asking is actually way more important than the answer you're looking for? Well, today we're diving into this exact idea, inspired by a sermon called The Invitation. It's all about how embracing our questions, really living in them, might be the key to a truly meaningful life.
So let's just start with a quick thought. You have a question, right? It could be anything. Why your plant is dying? Who won the World Series in 1982? What's your first move? Do you immediately grab your phone? Ask a smart speaker? Where do you go to find your answers? You know, this hunt for answers, it's literally as old as we are. Thousands of years back in the Shang Dynasty, people would carve questions on bones, throw them in a fire, and then try to read the future in the cracks. From there, we built massive libraries. Then we had encyclopedia salesmen knocking on our doors, and now, of course, we have pretty much all of human knowledge sitting right in our pockets. The tools have changed for sure, but that hunger for answers hasn't. In fact, our whole world is kind of built on this promise of instant answers, which creates this low-key anxiety that if you can't solve something right away, it's a huge problem.
But what if the whole point isn't just about getting quick answers? To dig into this, let's turn to this really pivotal story from the Gospel of John. It's about two young guys, followers of John the Baptist, who decide to check out this new teacher everyone's starting to talk about.
So picture this. It's a super simple scene. They hear John the Baptist point out Jesus, and they just start following him. And then you have this quiet, really powerful moment where Jesus just stops, turns around, and sees these two men walking behind him. And this is where it gets really interesting. The very first words he speaks in the entire Gospel of John are not some big announcement or a command. Nope, it's a question. What are you looking for? I mean, what a question. It just cuts right to the chase, right to the heart of what they, and really what all of us, are searching for.
And, get this, their response is just as fascinating. They don't give him a straight answer at all. Instead, they ask a question right back at him. And on the surface, it sounds a little, odd. Rabbi, where are you staying? You'd think they're just asking for his address, right? But what they're asking is so much deeper than that.
See, the Greek word they use for staying is meno. And this word pops up over 60 times in John's writings, and it almost never means a physical place to live. It means to abide, to dwell, to remain. They weren't asking, where's your house? They were asking, where does your life dwell? What's at the very center of your being? And how can we stay there with you?
And this is the whole point, right? Jesus doesn't launch into some long philosophical explanation. He doesn't give them a tidy little answer. He meets their incredibly deep question with a simple, powerful invitation. Come and see. He's not going to tell them the answer. He's inviting them to come experience it for themselves.
This whole exchange, it kind of opens up a totally new way of looking at these ancient texts. I mean, what if books like the Bible aren't just rule books or answer keys designed to solve everything for us? What if, at their very best, they're actually books of questions designed to make us think and explore and figure things out for ourselves?
And once you start looking for it, you see this pattern pop up all over the place. Jesus is constantly responding to people with questions, not statements. He asks, whose image is on this coin, to make people think about where their loyalty really lies. He asks a man who can't see, what do you want me to do for you, empowering him to name his own desire. He's always pushing people to look inside themselves for the answers.
And you know, this whole idea of finding wisdom in the journey, in the questioning itself, it's not just a religious thing at all. This same idea echoes through all kinds of philosophy and literature.
There's this amazing poet from the early 20th century, Rainer Maria Rilke. He wrote these letters to a young poet who's just starting out, and his advice was just incredible. He basically said, look, don't search for the answers right now, because you couldn't live them even if you found them. The trick, he said, is to learn to love the questions themselves. Live your way into the answer. Okay, so what does that actually look like, to live the questions? Well, let's take a look at the absolutely unbelievable life of Albert Schweitzer, a guy whose entire world was turned upside down because he dared to wrestle with a really deep question.
I mean, by any standard, Albert Schweitzer was a certified genius. He was this famous theologian who wrote a book that totally changed how people studied the Bible. He was a world-class musician, maybe the best Bach interpreter on the planet. He was a professor, an author. Seriously, a true Renaissance man at the very top of his game in Europe.
And then he just gave it all up. After publishing his most famous work, he went back to school, got a medical degree, and moved to what's now Gabon in Africa. He spent the rest of his life working as a doctor in a tiny hospital, serving the poor, and speaking out against colonialism. I mean, the change was just total, a complete 180.
And he actually explained why he did it himself, and it ties everything together perfectly. For Schweitzer, making this radical change was his way of answering that invitation to come and see. He came to believe that real understanding wasn't in books or concert halls, it was in the lived experience of serving others, in the toils, the conflicts, the sufferings that come with actually following that call.
So, at the end of the day, that invitation, come and see, it's really an invitation for us to explore. It's a call to start a journey that isn't guided by some pre-printed map of answers, but by the compass of our own deepest questions.
It reminds me of what the poet T.S. Eliot wrote. He said that the whole point of exploring isn't to find some new place, but to finally come back to where you started and truly understand it for the very first time. The journey of questioning actually changes the person who's asking.
And that, of course, brings the invitation right back to you and me. So for just a minute, let's forget about having all the answers. Instead, what's the great unsolved question that's beating at the center of your heart? What is the question that your life, right now, is trying to answer?